Before we get started with tonight's show, I want to talk about our sponsor for this season, Kalshi. Before the season kicks off, everyone's making predictions. Who wins the national championship? Who makes the college football playoff? On Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, you can trade those predictions in a live market. Will the Bloomington Monstars repeat as national champions? Right now, the boys in Bloomington are trading at 9% in the college football national championship winner market, meaning a $100 trade would pay out $1,044 if they win the national title this season. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position, trade the team or a game, and more on Kalshi. For a limited time, download Kalshi's app and use the code RJ to get up to $500 in bonus credits when you trade $25. KALSHI. Kalshi. Trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. Now, let's get started with the show. What's up, kidfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, a college football podcast, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If you're into that, join the more than 218,000 subscribers to Adapt and Respond, a college football podcast. And you can catch us Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and on Saturday nights when we're playing football right here at 11 p.m. Central Standard Time for full episodes featuring myself taking on the topics of the day and a little bit else with producer Ron. Tonight, I want to talk about USC Notre Dame is back on. Indiana Notre Dame is off. Is it being is it harder to play offensive football than it ever has been before in the history of the sport? We're approaching damn near 160 years of playing football, and yet people want to bitch, moan, and complain about how hard it is to play the sport. And Mario Cristobal got paid. But first, driving the day is the USA Today coaches poll. Yes, they have assigned that language to something else at USA Today because everything is for sale. Speaking of which, hey guys, have you downloaded the Kalshi app? I'm not doing that though, because it's been a coaches poll since I was a child. It was a coaches poll before that. There's a UPI poll before that. There's the AP poll. We've got the college football playoff poll. We've got all sorts of ways to rank people, okay? But we only give our brains to 2 or 3. And one of those 2 or 3 is the coaches poll, right? Me, as I am also getting ready to drop 138 teams right on y'all's skulls because I ranked all of them mugs again for the 4th consecutive year. It was the 3rd consecutive year. I don't know. Somebody's got it in their head. I want to talk about this coaches poll because I think it's interesting in that, hey, dog, it's the Big Ten's world, and y'all just live in it. And I don't mean Indiana, because I can argue there's some disrespect for Indiana, but it's the Big Ten's world because at number 1, with the coaches voting, which usually SIDs, but we use the coaches' names anyway, you got Ohio State, for which you have 2 schools of thought. One is, of course they picked Ohio State. Of course they picked the largest fan base in the entire country. Of course they picked the team that has a 2-loss losing streak. A team that has not won a playoff game since it won the national championship 2 years ago. Of course they did. On the other hand, Oregon at 2, dog? Y'all really think Dante Moore and them is that good? And there's something to it, right? Because while you might tell me Dante Moore might not be that good, he's one of the 3 best quarterbacks in college football. Then again, the chasm between being a great NFL player and being a great college football player is at least deep enough that Dante Moore did not want to go to the NFL draft this year. How about that, right? You know what I'm saying? I get $40 million to be a number 1 pick, or I can come back for a 4th year and play at Oregon. Also, he could still come back for his 5th year and play at Oregon. But that's not the reason that I think that Oregon is at number 2. They're at number 2 because they've got one of the best defensive lines in the country. I might argue it is the best defensive line in the country. Across the middle, them boys are stout and they can rotate. I mean, Mateo Uyunglele by himself, dog. Like that's just a monster. That is a tackle and a running back chipping every single time. Every single time. Because if it's not, somebody's getting their ass beat. Notably your quarterback, right? On the other hand, hey man, when's the last time that Oregon won a national championship? Is it carried to 1? 0. They don't do this. They don't win championships like that. Hey man, we showed up to the Big Ten in year 1 and we won the Big Ten championship. And then you got skull dragged by Ohio State when it mattered. You know, you make it again, Peach Bowl, and you got absolutely skull dragged by the team that's ranked number 6 in the coaches poll, Indiana. That's the one that's really interesting to me. Indiana at 6. So you got the 2 Big Ten teams, right? Both of which Indiana beat last year. Hey, RJ, pitch it forward, not back. Pitch it forward. I'm pitching it forward, dog. All things considered, it's still Curt Cignetti calling the offense defense. You know what I'm saying? It's still Curt Cignetti out here talking about, yeah, I would like to go beat the snot out of somebody else too. Then it's Notre Dame at 5. Fine. CJ Carr's good. That might be the best wide receiving quartet that they've had at Notre Dame ever when you really consider it, right? Jordan Faison, Jaden Greathouse, Mylan Graham, Quincy Porter. So that's 2 Ohio State transfers. 1 dog that is also like a nationally ranked lacrosse player in Jordan Faison, and another a dog that came out of South Lake Carroll playing alongside South Lake Carroll, Austin Westlake playing alongside Cade Klubnik. Damn, I'm good. Anyway, that's all of them, right? CJ Carr, who decided not to go to Michigan where his granddaddy was the head coach, Lloyd Carr, he can spin it. And I think they got a great tailback who's got a great name. Aeneas Williams. I'm not gonna get mad about the spelling. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna get mad about spelling. I'm gonna just go, you know what? Found it wrong. We're gonna leave it there. You know what I'm saying? And I've seen him run the ball. He's pretty damn good. I like it. You got Texas at 4. Yeah, right. Arch is that good. Cam Coleman can be that good. Ryan Wingo can be that good. Hollywood Smothers and Raleek Brown are that good. You might get to add John Meredith, who is a 5-star who's reclassifying for the 2026 season because he's ineligible to play high school football. You know what I'm saying? Also, shout out to y'all who have shown up and shown out for our LWC segment on Monday, man. Talking about a dude that rushed for 3,500 yards in 1 year really does turn it up for most of y'all. And then defensively is Will Muschamp's calling defense for them, so that's going to be a lot of fun. If nothing else, I'm going to see a man getting very, very upset when his defense gives up 400 yards total offense in a game. Then you can finally get to Indiana at 6, and I'm finding that kind of interesting. The other one I looked at here is Oklahoma at 9. Cool, bet. I need them to be at 8 come the second week of the college football playoff. Why? Because that might mean that they have actually done something they have never friggin' done in Norman, Oklahoma. Win a college football playoff game. All right? Michigan checks in at number 16. Penn State at number 17. I think if you line Penn State up against Michigan, I'm making a pick 'em right now. I like Matt Campbell and Rocco Beck and what they got going on over there. I do. I don't know that I like it as much as I like what I got over Michigan, but not enough to give them the points, dog. And the one thing that I really need to add here, Producer Ron, the one way in which I was taken wholly out of this poll, bro, what in the blue hell is Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers doing at 23? What they ain't been no good since Trevor Lawrence. What are we doing here? Why are we giving free rides to the top 25, Producer Ron?
I think they just get Clemson's not bad. I think they just want to give them a little hope. I think that everybody is nostalgic for the past 8 years and think maybe Dabo can bring them back. Maybe we're done Clemsoning.
Only year we weren't done Clemsoning. 2018 and 2015. Know what happened those years, Producer Ron?
They in fact didn't choke.
They didn't choke. Not only they didn't choke, they won national championship, right? So they didn't get a chance to choke. Right? I'm saying they ran it all the way through. It was all right. It's so much so that we almost don't bring up that nasty man in Cleveland, Deshaun Watson, was their quarterback. Almost, you know what I'm saying? And then, what do you get for leading a team to 15-0 as a true freshman at Clemson? To play for the Jacksonville Jaguars for the rest of your professional life. It's almost as bad as being a Jet. Oh, my God. But at least they won a national championship. You know what I'm saying? And we can look at that. And we could say, hey, when Dabo had it going, Dabo had it going. I don't know that we have seen Mario Cristobal having it going, but if he ain't, if this isn't as good as it's going to be, man, I don't know what it is. Because short of winning a national championship, oh, yeah, that's right. He hasn't done something else. Win an ACC championship. However, going into this year, he will be the number 1 ranked ACC team, according to Coach Bull at number 7. Mario Cristobal also got paid like a head coach who just led his team to the national championship game. So he's in the 5th year of a 10-year deal that ran through 2031 and paid him $8 million getting extended. Okay. So over his first 4 seasons, records 35-19, but it's really the last 2 to count. I say the last 2 because all you had to do was beat Syracuse and you're into the ACC championship game. Instead, Mario Cristobal them out. It's his fault. Of playing in the playoff, basically, and let Fran Brown come over his dead body. Fran Brown got on the FaceTime with Dabo Swinney, said, "You owe me." Some of the coolest stuff I ever saw, man. Right there. Calling up, right as I won this, and we are storming the field, calling up Dabo Swinney, who he's never called before, on FaceTime, saying, "See what I did for you? I got you into this ACC championship game. You're welcome." And the one thing I get to say about that team is Mario Cristobal managed to have the number 1 pick in the entire world and not make the playoff. You know the only other man that I've seen that do that in the last 5 years? Lincoln Riley, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. But the Hurricanes are the choice to win the ACC as they should be. But then again, hell, they was the choice last year, Ron. Like, let me remind y'all just how whack-a-mole the ACC championship tiebreaker was. We had 4 or 5 teams atop the ACC standings in a tie. Georgia Tech, Duke, Virginia, Miami, and I think Pitt. SMU had just played themselves out. Okay. What you ended up with was not the best 2 teams, but the 2 teams that qualified on this BS tiebreaker of strength of schedule. So you get Virginia versus Duke. And you know what? Virginia had an opportunity to be a 10-win team and maybe backdoor into the playoff on strength of their record. But an 8-5 ACC champion, we ain't got no time for that. We can't have y'all in here with no 8-5 record. We don't care what you did in a Power 4 conference. So the ACC had to take that on the nose. I guess that's the thing, is knowing what we know about this conference. Am I feeling like this is the move? Producer Ron, I put it another way. Who else would you go get?
I actually don't think that you could go get anybody else. I've just been looking at the landscape of college football, and for a person that it seems that Cristobal is well on his way to being the next great coach in the state of Florida with this kind of extension. Like, I think that is what, because otherwise you just let the contract play out, and at the end of it, hey, we'll see if you have more. But if he's 5 years in, first off, give him a 10-year, which is already a lot of faith. But halfway through, it says we would like to see more. It's like, well, I guess you're going to be up there. Like, hopefully, the goal is that you're going to be known as the next Bowden, Spurrier, Jimmy Johnson. Otherwise, why you pay him so early?
Why? I was about to say, like, I guess to your point, right? Like, the expectation is that you join that group. For which I was going to say, everybody in that group got a national championship. Matter of fact, I think everybody in that group's got at least 2 national championships. I got to check on Spurrier. 96 and 95? You got to get research on that one. But at least one, right? At least one national championship, which Mario Cristobal ain't got. And oh, by the way, check this out. Here are your coaches of note in Florida. And you tell me which one of them has won a national championship as a head coach. Talk about being the king of the mountain in Florida. So you got Mario Cristobal, who national championship game last year. Okay. You got Zach Kitley at Florida Atlantic. I'm sure there's a bunch of y'all that were like, who? Exactly. You got Brian Hartline at South Florida, first-year head coach, coming as wide receiver coach and offensive coordinator at Ohio State. You got Gus Malzahn. Oh, no, you don't. Damn, he quit. You got Scott Frost at Central Florida, who I guess you could claim a 2017 national championship. He would. I would if it was my team. And ain't nobody beat me, and I beat Auburn in the Peach Bowl.
All right, let's say that's one.
You got Mike Norvell at Florida State. And this is why I bring it up, because Mario Cristobal is this close to being Mike Norvell at Miami. Like, if this Miami season goes off a cliff after reaching the national championship game, it'd be the most Mike Norvell thing ever to happen. But you know what? They paid him, so now they stuck with him like they're stuck with Mike Norvell at Florida State. Okay? And then you got John Summerall at Florida. I would bring up Willie Simmons at FIU, but I feel like that's cruel and unusual, so we're just going to leave that one alone. Okay? All right? So, being the king of the mountain in Florida doesn't have the same cachet as it once did. Damn. With all that talent down there, you know what I'm saying? It feels like the state of Miami itself should be remarkable. And you know what? They were last year. They were. And they were good the year before that. And they got another rental that they feel really good about. Maybe that's it. I'm going to take on your next two questions here really quickly and then keep it moving. But will Cristobal actually get his first ACC championship this year? Dog, who would beat them? Well, James Franklin, Virginia Tech feel like they got something going. I'm interested. We'll see. Can Tony Elliott run it back at Virginia? All right, I'm interested. We'll see. Wake Forest won 9 games last year while nobody was looking, which means that if Duke can come out of nowhere, so can Wake Forest. UNC ain't a problem. NC State ain't a problem. Yeah, dog, it feels like it's them or, dare I say it, Clemson. But I don't know about Christian Vicenza, man. Like that. Ugh. And this leads me to your second question. Last question about Miami. Would it matter if he never got an ACC championship as long as they make the playoffs? No, it wouldn't. You know, like, this is a bit of a scuttle or scooter, but allow me. It's interesting talking to Ryan Day at Big Ten Media Days last week, half an hour of him just holding court. And he had talked about how difficult it is to play a Big Ten schedule and what the goals were for the team. And somebody had brought up a point that I raised quite a bit, which is that Ohio State has not won a Big Ten championship since 2020. They've seen Michigan do it. They've seen Oregon do it. They've seen Indiana do it. They've also seen themselves in that game, but not win it. So is it important that Ryan Day wins a Big Ten championship as much as a national championship? To which he's going, I don't care to win the Big Ten championship except for the seeding it gives me in the college football playoff. Being in that game allows for better seeding. Winning that game allows for the bye. He said the quiet part out loud. They don't care to win the title for their conference as much as they care to be in the tournament to play for the national championship. This is how college football goes from being a regional brand to a national brand. A lot of people aren't going to be upset about that, but I think the point stands. If Mario Cristobal never won an ACC championship, but he won 2 national championships, it'd just be one of those things to get brought up at trivia night when I'm around, because I would know the answer to that question, and that'd be the only question I get to answer. Speaking of which, when's the next time that USC is going to win any sort of conference championship? Hell, it might be in the next couple of years because they ain't got Notre Dame on the schedule. But you know what? USC Notre Dame is coming back 2030, 2031, first at the Coliseum, then at Notre Dame Stadium, both during week 1. And Indiana didn't want to play Notre Dame 2030 and 2031, and this became convenient for them to rub off. So what's interesting about this for me is how this is playing out. So you got the 4-year break, which is really what Riley wanted, because in just hearing people talk about this and talking to sources on both sides of this, Notre Dame wants to play this game. And they want to play this game around Thanksgiving when it's traditionally played, right? USC, Lincoln Riley, they don't really want to play this game. And they certainly don't want to play it in November in the middle of their Big Ten schedule. This is also on top of Lincoln Riley's really been drugged by now not just Oklahoma fans, but Notre Dame fans for running to USC right as Oklahoma joined the SEC because it becomes that much more difficult to make the playoff and to win at a high level. Moving to the Pac-12 at the time felt like the move. There's only two good teams in it, right? Oregon and Washington. Until such time as the Pac-12 implodes and, oh, God, you got to go make a run for it or you got to be independent. So they make a run for it with Oregon, with Washington, and with UCLA. So now you're back where you started, or you're even in a worse spot than where you would have been because you're in an 18-team league that is much more difficult to navigate than the 16-team league that you were caught running from. So what is going to make your schedule that much harder is something you want to get off Notre Dame. You got 9 Big Ten teams you got to play. And I think if USC had its druthers, it might operate like Indiana, which we'll get to. But in as far as getting this game back on the schedule, is it good for college football? Yeah, on the whole. It's 2 blue bloods that have history dating back to Newt Rockne, right? That matters. I mean, this is back before teams used to travel across the country to play each other. Newt Rockne going to the Coliseum was a big deal. And having that game played annually is also a big deal because it was a test of the West Coast versus test of the East Coast when we didn't have much of that. Now we got that. I mean, if you really want it, you can get it from Rutgers and Washington if you want. You can call that a national rivalry. You can do it, but nobody's going to believe you because there's no history there, which I think leads to this interesting question that producer Ron gave. What's your favorite USC Notre Dame moment? Man, I really thought about this one. I really did. And I wanted to give my best memory of USC Notre Dame. And it is, I can't stand neither one of y'all. I can't stand y'all. I cannot stand y'all. That's my favorite memory. I can't stand you. I can't stand Notre Dame not joining no conference, thinking it's better than everybody else, being elitist in every way, barnstorming around, thinking that you should get special treatment that the other 137 teams don't get. And then USC fans, y'all don't show up for nothing. Nothing at all. You had Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, Carson Palmer, Lindale White. Hell, the linebacker trio we all wanted. Ray Malaluga, Clay Matthews, Brian Cushing, Troy Polamalu. Holy smokes, man. Dwayne Jarrett. The boys from Arkansas in Springdale went to you. And y'all can't even fill up the Coliseum. This is an NFL city. Well, then get out of college football. You know what I'm saying? You're a private school, just like Notre Dame. You're a private school and you don't want to play with nobody. But you want special treatment. You want special treatment. You know what I'm saying? You won your championships. You got your Heisman trophies. And you know what? Y'all talk a lot of noise for a team that can't make no college football playoff. I hear all of this from SC fans all the time about what they got. Don't nobody give a damn about your individual award, homie. You can't make no college football playoff with no Heisman winner. The hell out my face. Notre Dame. We didn't get invited to the college football playoff, so we're not playing in the postseason. My favorite memory of y'all is whining. I'm out of my face with that. Producer Ron, you had a thought about this rivalry, right?
Like, it's cool that it's back in the news, but I tell you what, as a watcher of football, I've watched a lot of rivalry games, and it's probably the one that I've watched the least. I don't know what it is, but I've probably triple, quadrupled up Oregon State compared to USC Notre Dame. It's not. I swear it's a black hole for me. I fall asleep, wake up, game's already over.
I don't think you're alone. I really don't. I don't think that anybody could tell you what's at stake. That's the reason that it's so hard. Like, it's a great television rivalry, but nobody knows what's at stake in that. Like Oklahoma State, you know what's at stake. Bedlam means somebody going to church mad tomorrow. And that's the thing. We all go to church together. We share the same community. We send kids to the same schools. We raise them in the same halls. And it is awful to have to go in there to your house worship And watch this dude in this orange tie just grinning at you the whole time. You not wanting to make no eye contact because Bob punted the damn ball again at Tyreek Hill. And you got to hold that. You got to carry that in your soul, knowing damn well that was not the move. Hey, you seen him run it all the way back. You synced it. What are we doing over here, Bob? And the OSU fans just grinning ear to ear. Garbage. You know, and A&M and Texas, it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? They hate each other. They can't stand each other. They got to go to the same church. They got to go to the same synagogue. You know what I'm saying? They got to go to the same mosque. That, they don't share no space. Indiana and South Central, hell, USC ain't even a school in South Central. They ain't even claim South Central like that. That's why you can't hold it. That's why it's got a black hole. It doesn't mean nothing to nobody, but television. And usually they're ranked, right? And they might have a player on either side that should be up for the Heisman Trophy. That's about it. What rivalry would I want to get back on the menu? I mean, we got A&M Texas. That's the one I really wanted. Like, I was mad as hell to see that one go because that one's Thanksgiving. And as much as I'm going to have heartburn and I'm not going to be all right when OU and OSU play, I know that I'm going to feel a little bit better later that night because I'm going to watch some Aggies and them Longhorns go at each other. And I'm going to get filled up with that. Can both teams lose? That's where we're at, right? Other than that, man, like it is these on again, off again. It's like Oklahoma's going to play Nebraska here in a couple of years. And that's, I learned that game is cool and I like watching it play.
That's the one that I would be sated. I would be sated if I could get every year Oklahoma, Nebraska.
But Nebraska's been trash.
I don't care. That's the game that I want to see.
Okay. He don't care. He don't care. I was in Lincoln, Nebraska for OU, Nebraska. I care. Watching a Nebraska and yelling fight back is not what I want. That's just not what I want. Now, I don't. Then again, I have probably suppressed all my memories of Nebraska stomping out Oklahoma in the 90s. But that's just me. Indiana is now the only Power 4 program with 0 Power 4 out-of-conference game schedules, which is what USC would like to be and probably will be for the next 4 years, being honest about it, right? Or next 3 years, I should say. So as soon as we learned that USC and Notre Dame is back on, we also learned that Indiana and Notre Dame is off, which means that Indiana's scheduling has 0 Power 4 opponents on it for the next 6 years, and it didn't have a Power 4 opponent on it for the previous 2, okay? So they had games scheduled with Louisville that they canceled, games scheduled with Virginia that they canceled, now games scheduled with Notre Dame that they canceled, which would have been cool because Notre Dame is the last team to beat Indiana, period. I don't know how much that's going to be true in 2031, but you get my point there, right? Natural. And it's an in-state rivalry. I would argue that Indiana Notre Dame has more cachet today than Notre Dame USC for the simple reason. Both of those teams in Indiana have been good. I should say good enough to make the playoff, which is a thing that should make USC fans feel ashamed and mad. Indiana has made the playoff twice as much as you have. Sit down. Sit down and go enjoy your breeze and go enjoy your makeshift Lakers, okay? So the schedule for Indiana the next 6 years looks like this. Western Kentucky or North Texas Howard, that's 2026. 2027, UMass, Kennesaw State, Indiana. Yikes. Oh, okay, so we got 2028. We got Austin Peay. We got Directional Michigan. You don't really care which one. It's Eastern, but you don't really care which one. And Miami of Ohio. Garbage. 2029. We got Western Kentucky. Again, Directional Kentucky. Ball State, who ain't been balling. And Directional Illinois. And you don't care which one. You don't care. Eastern, but you don't care. 2030. We got Indiana State. Unless Larry Bird is playing for the Sycamores, don't nobody care. Delaware, the Blue Hens. I'll bet that game gets canceled. I'll bet they get that game off their schedule because Delaware was a monster FCS. They showed up in year 1 and went bowling. Okay? They are not going to be an easy win. And it looks like that's really what Cignetti wants to have on the schedule. So 2032, UConn, a team that won 9 games last year, but its head coach last year is now Colorado State. Jason Candle's at UConn, so they'll probably be good. I loved him at Toledo. But the point remains, if you won 9 games and we went bowling and you look like somebody, and you ain't had a reskinning, like North Texas, for instance, I don't know that Indiana wants you on their non-conference schedule because they are adapting to, we want to win in the Big Ten. Okay. So Indiana has these schedules that are bad and expected to be bad, and they'll be 3-0 coming out of them. However, I would argue this. Curt Cignetti is focused on winning the 9 games in the Big Ten, and that makes so much more sense, okay? Trying to get into the college football playoff. I would also say it might look like Curt Cignetti is running from the challenge of a Power 4 opponent by dropping teams like Notre Dame, Virginia, Louisville, all good teams in the last 2-3 years. But I would also remind you, Curt Cignetti is the head coach at Indiana, not, say, USC. All right? So you want this is where SC fans, I need you to stand up, be counted. 11 national championships, 87 first-round picks, 8 Heisman winners. Indiana got its first Heisman winner last year. Got its first-round pick in, I want to say, 2 decades last year. Or this year. And won its first national championship last year. They get to say, no. We have only just begun to become a national name and a national rate. I would argue that you could see Curt Cignetti at Indiana and think of him more like Bud Wilkinson at Oklahoma, right? Or Newt Rockne at Notre Dame. They're in their first gen of really great success, sustained success. Whereas Lincoln Riley came to a place that was already built, already a monster, and asked to take it over the top. So it is the difference between, I'm going to use a Formula One reference here, being Frank Williams, creating your team from scratch, holding together with duct tape, and then finally winning championships, to being the team principal at Ferrari. All you got to do is oil the machine. I will not treat these like they are the same. So if Curt Cignetti don't want to play nobody, cool. We probably won't watch that many games. They'll be 4-0. They'll go play Ohio State, and then we'll see what it is. Same thing happened with Michigan in 2023. Same thing will happen with Ohio State in 2024. Producer Ron, what do you think about this stuff?
Simply wanted to pose a question that we did for Mario Cristobal, which is, if you don't win the ACC, doesn't matter if you still make the playoffs. If you're Curt Cignetti and all you have is UMass, Indiana State, and Eastern Illinois for 10 years in a row, doesn't matter, especially if you're on the come up like he is. I mean, continuing the come up, if he continues to do that, challenges for the Big Ten, makes the playoff, doesn't matter if you have cupcakes on the schedule.
No, it does not, because what we count is championships. Like, I'm the person that will remind you who was on Michigan's non-conference to start the 2023 season or the 2024 season for Ohio State, because what your memory serves is the playoff and them raising the national championship trophy. All right, we come back. I want to talk about one of those things that's really helped Indiana get back on the good foot and is becoming something of a bugaboo for head coaches. Is it more difficult than ever to play offensive football? We got lots of data that says yes. Let's talk about it after the bumper. Back on Adapt and Respond with me, RJ Young. If you are new to the channel, consider joining the more than 218,000 subscribers to Adapt and Respond, a college football podcast. You can also catch us Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and on Saturday, it's college football night, 11 p.m. Central Standard Time, with full shows like the one you are watching here. Also, want to remind you to take a look at our new sponsor, Kalshi. Before the season even kicks off, everyone's making predictions. Who wins the conference? Who makes the college football playoff? Who's going to be the national champion? On Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, you can trade those predictions in a live market. Can Georgia win at least 12 games this season? The Dogs are currently trading at 25%, meaning a $100 trade pays out $373 if they reach 12 wins. Feels like money in the bank to me. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. Trade the rivalry game, the trophy winners, and more on Kalshi. For a limited time, download the app. Please do that. Use the code RJ. Please do that too to get up to $500 in bonus credits when you trade $25. KALSHI. Kalshi. Trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. So, is college football shootout era over, and how will offenses respond if it is? Interesting story over at The Athletic, which gets to use the URL nytimes.com, which I love. Yards per game are at a 15-year low in the FBS. So our points per game, 383.5 for yards, 27.5 for points. Plays are also down, 67 per team after being 70 for, 4 years. So have we entered into a dead ball era as it pertains to offensive football? It's an interesting quote from Sonny Dykes, who says, in the pro game, it is really pretty simple. It's which team screws up the least. So college football has gone from you got to go outscore everybody. Now it's okay. We just don't want to screw up as bad as everybody else is screwing up, right? Also from this article on The Athletic, with possessions often at a premium, coaches become more risk averse when it comes to what plays they call. Interesting to me only because it's always been a chess game to me as a guy that played quarterback in high school and a guy that looks at the game from a quarterback's position and a safety's position. What are the wheels of the safeties doing? Are they spinning up? They spinning down? And they're too high or they're single high? I'm just going to tell you it's chess, and I love playing chess, and it's FIDE chess, right? Which is to say it's on a clock. We play the game with a clock. You got 10 minutes to play in most rapid chess games, meaning that clock is against you, and you're trying to score points, and the pieces are worth points. Queens are worth 9, right? Bishops and knights are worth 3. Rooks are worth 5. Pawns are worth 1. King, game's over. Can you play the game without making mistakes, blunders? Can you play the game while attacking and developing your pieces along the board, knowing that there's only so much real estate that you can cover in the amount of time you got to play? What I'm saying here is the game is the game. Can you play it? Can you execute? What this means for players is you are going to have to be extremely good at your quality, not just your quantity. Used to be, we could just keep throwing the ball deep. Now, you got to be able to throw that football into a shoebox 50 yards downfield. If you cannot do that, run the football. And if you can't run the football, punt the football. Why? Because the odds are your opponent will blunder. Your opponent will make a mistake, and you will be able to pick up that and run with it. Anybody ever heard of a forced fumble or a takeaway or a sack forced fumble or a pick six? These are all blunders. All goes in the game of football. I think this is overwrought. I also think it's kind of garbage. The American Conference was hit hard, by transfer portal after the 2025 college football season. So, put another way, the American Conference is bitch moaning, complaining because Power 4 programs are coming to get their players, right? 78% of top American players transferred to Power 4 programs. This is an interesting story that was first updated by SI.com, to which American Conference Commissioner Tim Pernetti, my bad, Tim, had this to say. The top of the mountain for us on issues in the American is the transfer portal. Our coaches are doing an incredible job of developing talent. I want to keep them in the league longer. So he lost Eric Morris to Oklahoma State, Alex Galesh to USF, John Summerall to Florida. I'm missing someone. It will come to me. But the point there being, Ryan Silverfield from Memphis to Arkansas. There it is. Bang. Got it. So how are you going to keep them longer? You ain't got enough bread, dog. You ain't got enough money to pay them. You ain't got enough money to pay the salaries of their players. That's the problem with being a G6 team that's good. You're not going to be good for very long because somebody with bigger, fuller pockets is going to buy you out. Everybody loyal until it comes to that mean green. Got to have it. Mean green. I'm trying to tell y'all, You want to get good? Better spend that money, baby. Better spend that money. It's also, as producer Ron points out, a call back to Marshall Falk saying the SWAC is being poached. The real numbers behind him and what the data is telling him is, well, the same, honestly. I put it another way, dog. If you don't want to get your players poached, don't play the game. If you want to bitch, moan, and complain about having to build a new roster, I invite you to go get a corporate job and sit at a cubicle, okay? Because over here, we don't start bitch, moaning, complaining because it's not going our way. You just go make better players. Or you do what the Power Four has been doing to you. You go to the FCS and you raid their players. And then they go to the Division II and they raid their players. And they go Division III in AIA and they raid their players, and on and on. Or here's a novel thought. Recruit high school. Odds and ends. Producer Ron. I kind of want to throw this one at you. So we got an Alabama booster who was enraged by what the head coach at Indiana said.
Yes, no, this got an opinion column here from the AL, and there's nothing of real note because it's a whole bunch of boomers being very upset that, and that's not being upset, but being activated by the comments of Kurt Cignetti. I wanted to call back to our last episode where we talked about, or where Kyle Whittingham was like, there's just no room for this hatred factor. And I tell you what, that these people, like every nursing home in the South, is ready to go to war with Kurt Cignetti, and like that's kind of like that's the energy that I think you need to bring to the game. And I put this here just to continue to show that, like, hey, this matters. You gotta show. Not only you gotta show up, you gotta walk it. You gotta talk it.
The kayfabe gotta be real. The kayfabe gotta be real. You gotta bring some heat here. You got look here. The way that I generally put this, especially with coaches that are new to a space and think they got it, but they ain't got it. Look here, man. In the state of Oklahoma, we got more than 4 million people. Only one of them's getting paid to coach the team, but we all coach the team. Nobody gets any money over here. Nobody gets any pieces of the NIL deal. Nobody makes millions of dollars. What we get is beat Texas. That's what we get. And if you don't understand that and you don't want to embrace that, we will show you the door. All right. That is going to do it for tonight's episode of Adapt and Respond. If you like the show, subscribe to the podcast on Apple, on Spotify, on YouTube, like this, and share it with a friend. Tell them your favorite moment. Tell me your favorite moment. We will catch y'all on Thursday. Doses.